Odessa, Florida's finest, Mr. Chris Logan. How's it going, Chris?
I'm doing great, man. Looking forward to our time together today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to connecting again at an event or something soon. Chris is the co-founder. He's got two main things going on, which I'd love you to hit on. But essentially, the real estate business, co-founder, visionary mindset role in the real estate business, Rise Real Estate Group, a seven-figure wholesaling company, very, very high level. And he also has FlipTeam, which I'll let him expand on. But think of it like essentially an easier way to get leads leveraging other people. Expand on what FlipTeam is, the real estate business, anything else that I may have missed that you have going on now at the new place in Odessa.
Sure. So thanks. Yeah, so the real estate business, it's a real estate wholesaling company, Rise Real Estate Group, like you said. My wife and I started that company about 7 years ago, and we grew it to a seven-figure business. And so now we mainly focus on wholesaling. We are, building out a team. We just hired a director of inside sales for that, and we're really looking to grow that out even more. Our process is 100% virtual, so we buy and sell 100% over the phone, and we're in two states right now, and we're looking to grow that out. We're in Florida and North Carolina. And then as far as FlipTeam goes, FlipTeam is a software company that started out of me wanting to like streamline a marketing channel that was really time intensive and complicated. A lot of people drive for dollars. A lot of people are out there trying to find properties, right? And are aware like of how much time that takes, like getting in a car, driving up and down streets and everything like that. And what I found was that it's just something that, I really didn't have time for as a business owner because of all the other hats I was wearing in the business. And it's something that my team didn't really have time for because they were on the phone trying to work leads, right? And so what I did is I came up with a way to streamline that process to where we can recruit property locators 100% on autopilot, and to where we just have new properties brought to us daily. And then that way our team can focus on the most important thing, which is converting leads to deals, right? And so it's been very efficient for us. And we actually had two properties come in last week that we were able to talk with the sellers over the phone, right? And lock up around $50,000 worth of assignment fees. So it's just been something that's been incredibly impactful for our business and helping us find deals that like everybody wants that nobody can find, and that that we can just start bringing those in and flipping those.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to do our best to make this as efficient as possible to extract best practices, how Chris is doing all this volume in two different markets, 100% virtual, not going to any properties. He's leveraged a team that's driving around finding leads, but his team's not doing anything as far as going to properties physically. Always find that fascinating, even though I talk to people that do that every day. So I want to dive into that. Also, the success of the real estate business, and more specifics around FlipTeam. And I know that you have a resource for the audience as well, which is going to be amazing. But I'd love to hear, you can make somewhat short, doesn't have to go in full detail, because I want to be speaking about like what people can be or what people can find to make their business more successful here. But just curious how you got into real estate eventually, initially. It's always interesting to hear people's stories of how they got into, investing, and more specifically wholesaling, which is such a small niche. It's becoming more mainstream now. Interestingly enough, it's becoming more and more mainstream. Talking to what I would call like civilians, people that aren't in the in the entrepreneur space or in wholesaling, that like mortgage brokers or even just random people I talk to at home that are more familiar with what wholesaling is. It's not like a completely foreign concept.
Yeah. So when I first started, wholesaling was more like viewed as like, it's just a strategy that you start with to start building some cash. And then once you have some cash, you can put that into a flip and then flip that property. You can actually start renovating properties and buying rentals and all that. Now you're right. It's turned into more of a strategy in just itself to focus on. That's been incredibly profitable for us and other people. So how we first got started. So, I was working for a marketing agency, and one weekend I was at my wife's house, and I was checking my email, and I noticed that there was a banner ad in there about, a real estate training class that was going to be coming to town, and Robert Kiyosaki was leading it up. Right. And so I was super excited to meet him because I just finished the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I didn't want to go by myself, so I asked my wife to go with me. So we went to this event, and of course, Robert wasn't there, but it was a great event because they kind of just gave us an intro to real estate investing and what that looked like, and all the different ways that you could generate an income with real estate. So it piqued our interest enough to where we decided to buy a ticket to the 3-day class, right? So we went to the 3-day class. And towards the end of the event, they basically took all the different ways that you could make money in real estate, whether it was, wholesaling, rehabbing, whether you could, develop properties and for new construction and all that, right? So they put all these different strategies on a whiteboard, but the one that really stuck with us the most was wholesaling. So when they basically said that you can take a piece of paper and flip that piece of paper for tens of thousands of dollars, I was totally hooked, because at the time I didn't have a lot of money that I could invest in properties, and I didn't really have like the best credit at the time. And so I was like, man, this is a way for me to get started, start building my wealth and just kind of get going. I could relate with the strategy. So we paid for a mentor, and we just really hit the ground running, started going. It took us 6 months to do our first deal. And then once we did that, we were hooked. And then the second one came, and then kind of went on from there. One of the ways that we would find deals in the beginning was driving for dollars. We drive around, try and find properties, because we didn't have a huge marketing budget, but we always heard that that was one of the best ways that you could find just some of the most distressed sellers, right? Because you're driving around, you see a tarp on someone's roof, or you see that the house just has not been taken care of or anything like that. You can basically take that property and give the owner a call, and from there, you're talking with a motivated seller. So it's much faster, right? So the challenge was, at the time, I didn't have time to do a lot of driving myself, right? Because I was working a job and then at the same time trying to build this business. So I have a marketing background. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a system that would allow people to find these opportunities for me, right? And so what I did is I basically took a bandit sign. I took it outside and put it in front of like a cash advance location. Then I put another one in front of in a Walmart parking lot, and just to see if people would be interested in this type of opportunity to bring me leads, right? And I was totally blown away, in a good way and in a not so good way, with how many calls and just activity that I got from this sign that I put out. I was basically telling people I'd pay them $500 if they brought me a lead that we ended up closing to a deal, right? And it was crazy, man. I spent several days just fielding all the opportunity. And I think in one day I got like 100 calls. I was getting like exhausted from all these calls. And so I was like, man, I got to streamline this. I got to make this better and easier, right? And I got to take myself out of this process. So I put pen to paper, and I came up with a system that would basically take me out of that entire process to where I could fully automate it. I could bring on as many people to find properties for me as I wanted. And at the same time, I didn't have to be involved in any of that. And I could just focus on the two most important things, which is leads and deals, like talking with sellers and closing deals, right? So we did that, and just kept running with that. And we would get deals consistently every single month from it. And then from there, we joined a mastermind, and people were struggling with the same thing that I was struggling with. And when they asked the question, I was like, well, I created this system for me. Here's what it does. People were totally blown away by it. And they're like, how do I get access to this? And I'm like, well, it's not really for sale. It's just something I created for myself, right? And so, they're like, come on, I really want to get involved in this. And so basically, I had about 15 people start out as kind of like a beta group to see if it would work for them like it did for me. And they tried it. They got success really quickly where they were unable to find success before. And it just kind of grew from there. And my developer, once he saw how many people we were signing up, he's like, we really got to expand this and really just start delivering this to masses. And so that's what we started towards the beginning of last year, was taking this program and offering it to more people. So, and that's where we are. I mean, we have members that have signed up, and within 6 to 8 months, they've gotten, they've averaged pretty much a deal a month, and they've gotten a little over $100,000 in profits generated from the system. I have a guy that started probably a few weeks ago, and he was able to get a seller lead the same day, and then follow up with that person within 24 hours. He had a bit of a hard time getting hold of him at first. And then once he got a hold of the seller, he was able to lock up a $25,000 opportunity. I mean, and these are opportunities that you're kind of like cherry picking the best deals from your area. So we just basically figured out how to find those opportunities at scale and make it like a repeatable process where you could wash, rinse, repeat on those types of opportunities. So that's how we got to where we are now.
Amazing. I want to hear about that process. So 2 questions. I want to hear what that process looks like from a high level of,
Sure.
I know that you were fielding calls, but also one thing I'm noticing, just talking to investors, people in our masterminds, although people are able to sell deals for more right now to hedge funds or people that are willing to sell a premium, that could be the dollar, the value of the dollar, that could be, short-sightedness or not full perspective on how much inflation of the dollar is going on right now. But something I've been hearing is, man, it's like harder to get leads, like cold calling and texting. It is harder to get leads. So this is a great opportunity for leveraging other people, like almost like bringing on hires to your company at a low cost. I want to hear why someone, it's a little bit of like a softball question here, but you mentioned that this is pretty popular for people that don't have marketing budgets. For someone that does have marketing budgets, is experienced, is potentially in masterminds, why should they be doing this? Why would they want to set this up? Obviously leads, but like but your philosophy behind that.
Yeah. So, one of the things that held me back, I'm going to answer that with kind of a quick story. So one of the things that held me back in my wholesaling business from growing to 7 figures, right, was working on all the wrong things, right, and not realizing the true value of my time, right. And so one of the reasons why this helps people who are either brand new to the business or they're seasoned is because it helps take them out of what I call non-revenue producing activities, right? It helps take them out of those types of activities and helps them focus on the things that really move the needle in their business, right? Because in this business, we should really be focusing on 2 things: getting in front of sellers and fighting to get in front of sellers. And that's it, right? Everything else is kind of like just noise or activity you shouldn't be focusing on and should be offloading to someone else who maybe isn't responsible for converting leads to deals, right? So where this helps people, like let's say you have someone that has a full team, they always heard that this is a great way to find deals, but they just never had the time to do it. Well, that is a perfect reason why this system would work for someone like that, where they couldn't do it before, is because it totally automates the finding of the properties, bringing them to them. So that way their team can just focus on what they do best, and that's converting leads to deals. So whether someone is looking to, find opportunities without a marketing budget, or someone has a team that's fully scaled and this is just one nut they couldn't crack and they're looking to automate it and make something that can bring in leads consistently and convert deals consistently from it, that's who that's for.
Awesome. Break down the process, the system and process around FlipTeam and getting people, or if someone's listening to this that doesn't even have FlipTeam, how could they utilize your experience and genius in this area to get more leads?
Yeah. So basically we provide marketing that attracts people who are interested in finding properties for other investors.
It's
right?
lead gen for bird dogs, the first part of it.
Yeah, exactly. So basically we're basically putting marketing out there to attract the right type of people that are interested in this type of an opportunity that would submit opportunity consistently. Right. And so we put out the type of marketing. We do it on classified ad sites like Craigslist. We'll put out signs in high traffic areas like grocery store parking lots. We'll put them in front of cash advance locations, areas where people are looking for money. Right. So we'll do that. People will sign up. Okay. They'll get information about the opportunity, how they can be successful in the opportunity, and finding properties for investors. And then from there, it fully trains them within 24 hours. And what we typically find is when 24 hours them signing up, they start submitting leads. So whether someone has this system or they don't, they can apply the same thing. They can put out marketing to attract someone to find properties for them. Then, when that person signs up for more opportunity, have something that trains them and gets them brought up to speed. And from there, have a way for them to submit properties. But we just streamline that with FlipTeam. So that way they don't have to worry about building those systems themselves. We got it all dialed into a T, spent years fine tuning this process. And now we pretty much have it to a point where it runs on autopilot.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, you're pretty much outsourcing someone like an operator that's listening to this, screen recording, first coming up with their own procedures behind this whole thing of attracting bird dogs. You're pretty much just outsourcing that entire thing.
Because there's you can always go out and pull a list, but everybody has access to that list, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing standing between you and another investor in your market grabbing the same list of like absentee owners or delinquent tax or vacant houses and pulling that list, right? What I like about properties we get from this, from FlipTeam, right, is I'm a data guy, so I like diving in and just kind of seeing where these opportunities are coming from. Could we have found these on other lists? And oftentimes I find that these opportunities are just not on any other list, right? Sometimes they are, but what I find is that we're getting to these opportunities before anybody else even knows about them, right? Which gives you that slight edge in your market. And honestly, to your point right now, with marketing costs continuing to rise, investors having a hard time getting deals, like this is the perfect opportunity for something like this, because if you're in California, right, and you're spending, like $15,000 to get a contract on a property, right? You could avoid that, right? Which is crazy high overhead just for one deal. Now, granted, if you're flipping it for, you have a big spread in there, you also have to look at that, right? But like, this is just something that you can have a slight edge above the competition to where you can get to that deal before the next person. In this market, that's invaluable.
100%. It's all about the small optimizations that you can do consistently. Because even if you did this, if you bring on a bird dog and they're kind of in and out of the business for a month or 2 months or something, like you may have access to some leads for a short amount of period of time, but probably the power, and there are case studies and, stories of within 24 hours, someone sending a legit lead that's making, a 5-figure wholesale assignment fee. But what I'm seeing and feeling is kind of like, if you have these systems in place consistently over time, that's where you're going to see the biggest results, where probably that curve of efficiency is a few months down the line, 6-9 months down the line of having this team in place and then a growing team. So I'm curious what like this software actually looks like. People are hearing this, they're conceptualizing it. All right, you're pretty much getting a virtual binder of SOPs for marketing for bird dogs, how to bring them on. What does the FlipTeam software service look like, and what is it like to work with you guys for someone that's interested?
Sure. So the system is built on the popular platform of Podio, right? And most investors who have been doing this for any period of time, you've heard of Podio, right? Whether you heard about it from someone else or you're using it already. Podio is great because it's just very easy to use, right? So we built the FlipTeam platform on top of Podio, and basically we create a website for you, right? To track the property locators. And then from there, it just funnels those leads into Podio, and then you're working leads directly within Podio. So that's how the system looks. That's how it works, right? And then from there, it allows people to just go down the list of leads and start calling those, converting those leads to deals, and just doing that month in, month out. And one of the neat things that we have is we have automated follow-up sequences, because what I find a big reason why new and seasoned investors have a hard time converting leads and squeezing juice out of all the leads they have in their CRM is because they don't follow up like they should, right? So what we did is we basically took that, off our users' shoulders, and immediately when a new lead comes in, there's a text that goes out to it, a voicemail can get dropped on the seller's phone, and then an email goes out to that seller. And then from there, there's you can kind of set up, our users can set up how they want those to go out. They can totally customize that sequence. If there's certain things they want to go out, but they don't, they can always customize that. And that goes out over the course of about 4 days. And those sellers, based on our follow-up sequences we set up, those sellers are picking up the phone and they're calling back our users. 100%. So it makes it to where like you don't have to pick up the phone and call every single one. You can just you can passively wait for those calls to come in. But we recommend our users to call and take those inbound calls, and we provide scripts for them to do that, really making it kind of like a business in a box.
Mm-hmm. Plug and play business in a box. I mean, and that's the backbone of us: simple automated follow-up, manual and automated follow-up. So for those that have InvestorFuse listening to this, I'm sure there's still some way you could utilize the lead gen of FlipTeam. But like we're the same way in principle. It's like you need to capture your leads, you need to talk to them as soon as they come in, and you need to keep reaching out to them. So that's amazing. Love hearing the success of people, working with you. I want to hear about the web class that you have for finding motivated sellers.
Yeah, so we're launching a web class this week where we teach our viewers basically how to find the most motivated sellers in their market. They can flip for the highest profits and use FlipTeam to do that. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and post a link in the show notes here below where you can register for that, check it out. We'll walk through the FlipTeam system from A to Z, and then from there you can see how it could work for you in your market.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely throw that link in the show notes so people can check that out. Awesome story. Love seeing the success. Love that we got to meet in person and connect. And it's always cool seeing like a product or service just organically come to be from a need of other people, like someone using themselves. That's exactly how we are with InvestorFuse. So that's always cool to see. To put a bow on this thing, I'm curious, you're 100% virtual wholesaling mainly. You have the software service going now. I'm curious what you think of the real estate market now and where you think it's heading towards the end of the year. Everybody has their own speculation based on their own, data compilation and, their values and beliefs. But I'm curious, and I like to ask high-level people just of theirs to hear their philosophy behind that.
Sure. Yeah. So that's something I've been following pretty closely. And, I feel like we're in a good place for the real estate market right now for us investors, especially if you're wholesaling right now, because there's a ton of demand coming in. We have people from New York, people from California that are coming down to Florida, specifically in droves, and just other parts of the country as well. And so the market is backed by real demand right now. I mean, there is not enough supply to go around. And anytime you have a situation like that, where supply is incredibly scarce and you have demand that's incredibly high, it's kind of like the perfect storm for a great market for what we do, right? One of the things that I was a little surprised at was how the Fed started increasing rates as aggressively as they did, because they weren't supposed to raise rates, but like maybe one or two times this year. Right. And I think they've already risen rates like 7 times. So I feel like what's going to happen is you're going to have the local buyers, the local first-time homeowners in the area. I think that's going to purchasing is going to slow down for them dramatically, because, maybe where they could afford a house before at what the interest rates were, before they started to kick in, before they started to rise. Now maybe they can't afford those houses. And so I think you're going to start seeing local buyers slow down. But I feel like the frenzy coming in from people from other states, I think that is what's going to fuel the market right now and continue to do it. And honestly, there's a lot of people saying that there's going to be a massive correction and everything like that. Honestly, I don't see how that could happen with the demand where it is right now and with supply being where it is. I think that in order for the market to have a massive correction, we would need to have some type of catastrophic financial event that would, like the currency collapsing or something like that. Like that, in my mind, that's the only way that things could turn around, unless the Fed just started raising rates to a point that was just, that priced everybody out of the market.
Yeah. And you don't see that happening.
I think they have to be careful how fast they raise rates, right? Because if they raise rates too fast, then they're going to price out a lot of people, right? A lot more people than just first-time home buyers and letting the market cool off just a little bit. I think if they raise rates too fast, too soon, then that is something that could potentially cause a little bit of an issue. But I think the market would more so go flat than it would do a significant drop, because there's still that demand, right? People still need a house to live. Always. And with rents being where they are right now, rents being at an all-time high, I mean, people are still kind of going back and forth, does it make more sense to rent or buy? And, it's so that's my personal opinion. I think if you're wholesaling real estate, I think you have a great market ahead of you. I think if you're renovating, I think you should be cautious, but at the same time, I think, there's still opportunity out there. I mean, properties in our area are selling for 50K over asking, 100K over asking. It's all perspective. You have people that have houses that they bought at like 300,000 up north, and now they're worth 1.5 million. They're cashing out of those. And it's all perspective. They see a house down here in Florida that local Floridians are like, man, that's overpriced. It's the price is just through the roof right now because we saw what it was like before. But they're like, shoot, properties where I live, to get something like I can get down there, I'd have to pay over $1 million for it. I can buy for 600,000 down here. I'm moving to Florida, right? And these other places like North Carolina, Texas, things like that, right? So I think it's all perspective. And as long as you have people that are thinking like that and that are selling their properties, taking advantage of the market that we're in right now, I think you're going to have that demand. And landlords right now, man, this is an amazing time for landlords to sell. Amazing time for landlords to sell. This is where they cash out and they take all that money and they wait for that, correction. So,
are you marketing more specifically to landlords now?
Yeah, we've seen a huge jump in deals come through from absentee owners because it's just market timing. Before the market was so hot, owner occupieds were a great source of marketing to sellers. But now with the market being where it is, and we're kind of close to the peak, I think, right? I mean, it could still keep going, but I think we're somewhere around there, right?
It's like playing blackjack. Like you're like at 15. Oh, I'll hit again.
Yeah. So I mean, I firmly believe, because a lot of people are like, man, I should have done this, I should have done that, right? I think that like the right decision is the right decision for you, right? So the decision that I make may not be the decision someone else would make, and the decision they make may not be the one that I make. But at the end of the day, as long as it works for you and it fits into your goals and it fits into what you're trying to accomplish, I mean, it was the right decision. So I think that hindsight's always 2020. A lot of people look back and say, man, I should have done this, I should have done that. But I mean, in reality, they did what the right thing was for them at the time. So it was the right decision.
Like many things in life, it's all about perspective, and hindsight indeed is 2020. It's easy to go back and play Monday morning quarterback for sure. But this has been a fun interview, man. And I love the perspective on the market and everything like that. So big takeaways for me, this last one coming in, man, that's so true, that landlords can kind of cash out now, sit on that, wait to reinvest, and they can kind of, maximize what potential profit they would make from the dollars that they have invested in assets and everything. And why not leverage a team of bird dogs? Get some people out there helping you do lead gen. So many people want to get into real estate investing. There's so many people that are looking for jobs and stuff, man. It's a nice alignment of everything that's going on in the world, where it's a good time to, use somebody like FlipTeam or leverage bird dogs yourself. Just listen to Chris and checking them out. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Chris, always looking forward to chatting, man. And hope you have a fantastic rest of the week enjoying Odessa, Florida.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Carlos. Always a good time connecting with you, and I'll talk with you soon.
My pleasure, man.